So, good morning, you guys. I want to talk about AEW last night, and I have everything written down. So, it was actually at the Total Mortgage Arena in Bridgeport, Connecticut. So, fortunately for me, living in New Haven, that's like a 35-minute, drive. So, I was able to stay until the very, very end. And, what I want to say is that, really quick, is that I really did not enjoy the show. There was a bunch of issues, and, I also got to take a picture with Tony Khan, really, So I think that, as I said, Tony really is passionate about wrestling, but he just needs to really, listen to people and listen to the problems with the execution. One bad thing about tonight was really the audio. Like, sometimes you hear, Osprey and Fletcher talking, you don't know what the hell they're saying because, if you're in the crowd, you can't hear the audio. And there were a couple other times with, audio issues. And then also, too, that I felt that, they were relying way too much on, mayhem in the audience. The problem is that if you do that a couple of times a night, it becomes bad and monotonous, really, So there was a lot of things that I felt really hurt the show. So I'm going to go through the match card. So you had Adam Page and Christian Cage versus Jay White and Juice. There was nothing really special to this match. Like, sometimes when I think of a match, I always say to myself, do I remember any of the moves or anything like that? And a lot of the matches felt that way with me. I really were like, man, it is what it is. Obviously, you see the Christian Cage faction have interference. Nick Wayne gets involved and Hook attacks him. And then because you saw Nick Wayne staple Era Fox's head, why don't you do something it should have actually kind of been, Hook versus Nick Wayne, maybe during the pay-per-view or something like that. That you could have tied in all that stuff, really. I think that that's kind of what they should have done. You could do Nick Wayne versus Hook at Full Gear. He staples something to Nick Wayne's head, and then Christian's like, I'm going to defend your honor, so it's going to be me versus Hook for the contract because I know I'm going to win at World's End. So there's way more of this tie-in stuff that they can do, but they're not doing that. Obviously, Juice Robinson hits the pinfall because among these people, he can afford to take the pinfall. It is predictable. Adam Page had a bunch of good offense. And I'm really cool with that. But like I've said, he's in the wrong feud. He should be for the heavyweight title. He should not be for the heavyweight title. He should not be with Jay White. The next match that I written down was Takeshita versus Adam Cole. So, and I'm doing this a little out of order. So, first of all, what I would say is that, with this match, again, nothing really special to me, but I was very proud of two factors. That, this is a controversial one. I'm happy that Takeshita won, because the thing about that is that, it becomes very predictable. A lot of people were predicting Adam Cole, and Adam Cole versus MJF would be the match that would make money. So it was weird that Adam Cole lost this one, but it was good to subvert expectations. But the other thing too is that Takeshi's an international champion, so you can't do what they do in WWE, because years ago they had the power of if you hold a title or Money in the Bank, you always lose on television. So I was very happy to see that Takeshita won this, even though he cheated with the diamond ring. And then also, I was surprised he didn't use the Blue Thunder Bomb, but a lot of people like that move. So it's also a little brilliant storytelling that you don't see Takeshita do something use a move that people like, because obviously, if you are a heel, why would you do that? Why would you make the crowd happy, really? So while I appreciate the unexpected result, really, I just felt that there was nothing that memorable. But I also appreciate Adam Cole, because he was not selling an injury. He was being more of a competitive fighter, and that's what you need to do. But the other problem is that 100% it hurts the show, because, if for Full Gear, nobody cares about Roderick Strong. Roderick Strong versus MJF is not a good match. Roderick Strong looks like Johnny Knoxville. He sounds like Johnny Knoxville. He has the dumb glasses as Johnny Knoxville. So I don't think you can have a good story with this. I don't think that Roderick Strong really has to impress me and knock me off my feet, but I don't think he's going to do that. And I appreciate Roderick Strong, just like Matt Taven, Roderick Strong, Mike Bennett. And then also Mark Briscoe, they've really wanted to matter this year, and they've been workhorses for AEW. So I respect them, but I just think that Undisputed Kingdom, they're not the right people, because they're definitely not the right people to be on a pay-per-view, because they've done too much comedy crap. Roderick Strong versus Lance Archer. Once again, this was a little confusing, because what happened was that that there was a segment that where Roderick Strong and Lance Archer were coming down, and then they kind of just led to the match after that segment. So it felt a little bit too much like a jump cut almost. But they were kind of brawling a little bit. It was bad because they were backstage. They had very bad lighting, so a lot of people were yelling, "We can't see," because backstage they have bad lighting. So if you're going to do a backstage segment, you have to make sure that the lighting is good. Common sense, no shit, Sherlock. Also, there's very bad audio. And also, too, when they had, like, the street fight and whatever, the big problem with that is that it felt very anticlimactic, because, they had a bunch of spots where it looked like they were going to fight in the concession stand area, and they didn't do that. But I think they did that in Bridgeport. I think that would have been, what to do. If you're going to do a bunch of, like, anarchy in the arena type of stuff, you have to kind of give something special. This is your penultimate Dynamite before the pay-per-view. You have another week of this, so you want to kind of hit it hard, and they really didn't hit it hard. They just brawled on the bleachers. There were some spots, once again, that, it was hard for some people to see. It felt like they were trying to be very safe with it. They should have been a little bit more risky. But Roderick Strong beats Lance Archer. It's a controversial call, because obviously Roderick Strong has some muscles. Name like Roderick Strong, you think he's a strong person. But again, the big men lose to the big man lose, But also it made some sense, really, because you had Undisputed Kingdom get involved, and you also had Brian Cage get involved. So, you have to kind of, when you incorporate other people and you incorporate other melee, you can kind of suspend your disbelief a bit. But it was surprising that Roderick Strong's going to face MJF and not Adam Cole. I would rather have them do something like, you're about to have the match with Takeshita, or you have the match, and then he wins, and then Adam Cole wins, and then he gets a beat down backstage, or backstage you see it beat down by the Don Callis family, and then Adam Cole's not cleared. If you want to do something like you feel he's not ready, really, that would be the way to do that. But you don't do something like make it so Roderick Strong looks dominant now, because he's not going to draw any money. Ospreay and Fletcher was really cool, because what happened was Ospreay took like the screwdriver and he threw it on the ground, but he had to kind of nailed it perfectly where it landed. It didn't land it didn't land flat. It landed like on the sharp part, and I was like, wow, that was really cool. But again, I couldn't really hear what they say, really. And then also, too, when Ospreay speaks, he kind of like says sunshine, a lot of British phrases. So I do think that he needs to kind of talk a little bit more like an American would, like say, I'm going to kick your ass, not like I'm going to beat the mother flubber out of you, sunshine, and all that stuff, because it doesn't translate well. But also, too, like they both have strong British accents, so it's a little hard to hear what they're saying. But we all know that they're going to have a great match. I'm happy that this match is added to the card, really. They needed this match, because Will Ospreay's gonna draw money and all that, and also, too, like they kind of really talk about the storyline of like how Ospreay stabbed people in the back in the past, but at least he accomplished things first to show like, okay, he doesn't need people, but at least he doesn't need people, but at least he's accomplished. He has something to back himself up on, so it doesn't look like he's a punk bitch. Or Kyle Fletcher doesn't really have those accomplishments outside of teaming with Ospreay a few years ago, so he's trying to be like, the small dog, trying to act like a big dog. So I'm okay with the storyline. They're gonna have a really great match, and I really want to see that. Another thing that bothered me about tonight is that it was later on in the show that Takeshita got attacked by Ricochet, and they really need to have Ricochet versus Takeshita, because I really think that you need to have that match to kind of sell the views. That's going to be a really great match, but I really pray that they have that on the card. I hope they don't put on a Dynamite or a Collision. I'll be very hurt, because then you're going to have it during commercial breaks and all that other crap. Ricochet versus Takeshita needs to happen on the show. It's not a match that they have yet, but it needs to happen. The next thing that I want to talk about is Bobby Lashley. Like, he had a backstage promo. The audio wasn't good. I don't remember any of it. but I was okay with them having a backstage promo because later on he came out and he fought Swerve really, and that's what they need to do because you couldn't have way too many people coming out type of thing. If you do that all the time, it loses its power really. But then when he comes out later, it has something special. Britt versus Penelope Ford. Nothing special about this match. You honestly were in a situation where you're like, okay, well, Britt Baker's gonna win because, like we said, like she actually matters. Penelope Ford doesn't matter. Lio Rush is a great high flyer wrestler. I appreciate the Hurricane Ranas and all the great stuff he does. And Swerve can wrestle a lot of different styles. He looks like an X Division wrestler, but he really comes off more as like. He comes off more as like a mix between a flippy and a high power and like a hardcore type of wrestler. Like, he's really good. Like, he's probably a very athletic brawler type. So he does have a very like good, cool style. But it was cool, good match. Swerve was going to win. He and Lio Rush won a while really to make Lio Rush look good. But I believe Lio Rush has held titles at ROH, so I'm okay with that because if it was kind of like extending a squash match type of thing, that wouldn't be good. So, Lashley comes down, the Hurt Syndicate attacks them, and I have no problem with that. And it's good because obviously, if you had Lashley come out at the beginning and then nothing happens to him, but something happens to him too, but then he ambitious Swerve, that would look stupid, really. So, this is the right way to do things. It sets up the match, gives you some unpredictability because you're like, okay, how can Swerve beat Bobby Lashley, And then also, do you even want to go in that direction? Because then you're like, what do you do with Lashley if Swerve beats him? I really think they should have a stipulation that if Swerve loses, he has to join the Undisputed, he has to join the Hurt Syndicate. Like, they should have added that to give you some sense of, like, talking about all that, really, TR versus the House of Black. And what I would say with that is, with that said, really, it was an okay match. We wasn't really into it. I was actually surprised that the House of Black won because a lot of people were talking about Aleister Black and saying that, they thought he was retiring last week. But I think that maybe Tony was trying to throw him a freaking bone and all that, really. But then it's almost like, what do you do with FTR? Because they're known as the best tag teams. But I think that this is actually a very good move because the thing about it is that FTR is kind of considered one of the best tag teams. So if you set up FTR versus Private Party at World's End, that would be good. Or if you do something like you have Brian Cage and Lance Archer versus Private Party at World's End, and then you have FTR versus Private Party at Grand Slam in Australia, that would be a really good match, really. So, sometimes you gotta, it's on the menu, but you don't bring it out. You save for the Thanksgiving Day once a year menu, type of thing, really. So it was an all right match, but I wasn't really into it. But overall, I would say that the show wasn't something that I really liked tonight, but it was, like, as I said, like, I enjoyed the experience, So that's what I have.